Well, good morning, Maurice. Thank you for tuning in to the Phwealthy Podcast, where we just talk about everything positive, healthy, and wealthy. And I'm the host, Mark Anthony, aka Phwealthy Man, and I have Maurice here with me today. And Maurice, can you just introduce yourself to the people and let them know what it is you do and just your background a little bit?
All right, so my name is Maurice Goring, and for right now, what we're doing is I'm building a Turo fleet. So my goal is to try to get it to be nationwide, and I'm in San Diego, California, and I have just scaled up to be about almost 20 cars. Goal to be about 25 cars by the middle of March. And so that's where we're at. And so I've been having some great success at it, and I just look forward to the opportunity to be able to just talk about it and see if I can help somebody.
Okay, awesome. And just can you just give the people just a quick background? Were you born in San Diego? That's where you're located out of, or
No,
where are you from? What's your
no,
background like? How did you end
come
up
on. So,
where you are now?
come on. So I was born in Guyana, South America, and so we immigrated here. The basic American story, and came here when I was 7 years old to New York City, and grew up in the Bronx, New York. Then from there I went to boarding school in Jersey, and then I went to University of Southern California, and that's how I got to California initially. Was in LA for a bunch of years, did business administration there at USC, and then I went to Colorado, had a bunch of businesses there, and then from there, because my kids were here, I moved to San Diego, so that's where I'm at now.
Okay, awesome. So you've had a good experience with business and entrepreneurship. So just to get into the Turo part of things, how did you hear about Turo? How did you get into it? Was it a friend or did you just see it? What's your story there?
So the story on that was that I got a Tesla. I went in to put my name down to get my Tesla, and so I thought I would have a little bit of time. I already had a car, everything like that, but I always wanted a Tesla, and so they literally called me up like 2 days later and said, "Oh yeah, your car is going to be made because I guess we were in California, and so you got to come pick it up on the weekend." So then I had two cars because at the time I had a 2017 Toyota Camry, which I love, great gas mileage, dependable vehicle. And so then I was like, man, I can't have two cars. But I talked to a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, have you heard of Turo? And so I said, no. And so I looked into it. And I'm the kind of guy, like, I go after stuff. He says, yeah, you just maybe put your car on there. Because I had a car payment on the 2017 Camry. And I had, of course, I had a new car payment on the Tesla. And so I put it on there. I put that Camry on there the first month. The Camry made it made enough to cover his car payment. Second month, it made enough to cover his car payment insurance. The third month, it made enough to cover car insurance. It covered his car payment and a large portion of my Tesla car payment. So I said, man, maybe I have something here. And so I just, from there, it was on.
Okay, nice. So it really started with you having two cars and then one of your friends telling you about the platform, and you never really looked back ever since.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so in your intro, you told us that you have, I think it was 18 cars and or 19 cars, and you're on track to get your 20th. How many
Yeah.
cars do you have right now?
So right now, I have a ton of cars. So I have four cars that have payments on. The rest of them are all cash cars. So I have like 19 of them. So I literally bought them all within the last month and a half. I was waiting to get my dealer's license. So I got my dealer's license. So I went out to the auctions. I picked up a bunch of cars, and so that's right now. So right now I'm really just tweaking them, getting them all ready, lining them up. I've got about 12, 13 active right now. The rest are getting lined up to be able to get on there if they have a recall or I got a license. I got registrations out of state, things like that. But I am very, very close to having almost 20 of them live within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, I'm just going to go after buying another 5. So my goal is to get to 25 as soon as possible.
Got you. So that's a good amount of cars. I've talked to people who only have like two cars, or they may. I think the person that I've talked to who had the most cars was like 10 cars. But with all those cars going in and out, going on trips, how do you stay organized with all those keys, all those cars, all those maintenance, maintenance trips, and just maintenance checks and everything. How do you keep up with all of that? How do you stay organized?
Well, so for me, so I got a key cabinet. My wife's very handy. She loves to be able to label stuff, so we label all the keys. So I got all that there. Also, it's just a matter. I did a bunch of time where I had, 4 or 5 cars, 6 cars, and I was just grinding it out, seeing what they could do, trying to find a mean, as far as what they'll make in the good times and bad times. And so it allowed me to be able to be hands-on. And so also I have some tracking software. That part of it allows me to be able to go in there and put in all the the checks and everything that when all changes are due. Just systems in place to be able to do that. You have to do it. I mean, that's one of the things that get out of hand because you literally run around and all of a sudden you look, oh my God, the plates are off. But also I have a filing system where I have every car in there and everything that comes up with the car I have in there as well. And so that way I can keep track of everything. I think that's one of the number one challenges really is when you get to that point. Being able to keep track of everything. But, the beautiful thing is about me being hands-on and being out there. When I'm dropping the car off, I literally can see, hey, I just, this one's coming up for an oil change because I've got the stickers and everything on there. So I think that's really, for me, the key is also creating a system where where everything's going to come at you, but also being in the midst of it so that you can see what's going on. You can see if a car is acting up. You can see if cars wobbling, maybe needs new tires and things like that. And so, if you have somebody else doing that for you, you may or may not, you won't know, right? And if you have a brand and if you have something that you're trying to maintain as far as a standard, I would say that it's kind of one of those things like a restaurant. You got to get in the kitchen and be able to be in there so you know what's going on. For me, it's the same thing. I've been fortunate because I have to do this by myself right now, but I think that's the most valuable part is being in there, dropping the cars off, picking the cars up, dealing with the customers. That allows me to be able to keep a handle on where I'm at and what's going on.
So you told me something on the phone, when we talked before this, you said something about setting up your business to how you want to see it in the future. You remember telling me that?
Yes, yeah. So I do what I say to everyone is like always plan on a positive outcome, right? And so if you plan, so what I do is anything I build, if I start up any kind of business, my determination is that business will be successful, right? I mean, you have to have integrity on and how you build it. So if you build it that way, you're going to be successful, right? And so that's really my number one thing is that I didn't start this business thinking I'm just going to do 1 or 2 cars. I thought the business is saying, as I went and I saw the data, everything builds upon itself. So as I saw the ins and outs, I'm like, hey, I'm going in this to build it to be able to be successful, and meaning that also you're going to put systems in place, meaning also you're going to be able to figure out, if I do have 20 cars, where am I going to put them all? What does insurance look like when you get past the 2-3 cars on your personal insurance and then you have to go to commercial, things like that. So literally, I would say to you, if you're building something, even if you have 1 car, 2 cars, even in the very beginning of it, look and see what's your brand. How are you affecting the customer? What kind of reviews you're getting? All those things, so you know that. And then you want to determine you want to become an all-star. You want your cars to be shown before for the guy that just has 1, 2 cars. So you want everything when you go into this. I went into it believing that and knowing that I was going to be successful. And I always say go follow the light. So if I'm in there and I see an opportunity, I see something working well, I see something that's a blessing, then I'm going to keep going that way. One of the things that really was key to me, that really propelled me to be able to move forward and go after this, is that when you become a power host, and that's based on how much money you got to sell, I think $36,000, something like that, in volume. They give you this thing, they give you this data, and gives you insights. And so, as a power host, when I became a power host, I got a privy to that data, and it showed me how my cars ranked against similar cars and exact cars in the marketplace, and as far as reservations, when people go look at see the pictures or go to the listing, how do they respond, what turns into reservations. And literally I was killing it in my marketplace with my car, with my regular cash cars. And so when I saw that, I knew that somehow in the very foundation, when I was building the determination to build something of worth, that it was working, right? Behind the scenes, to be able to see that. I literally was number 1 as far as like getting reservations and utilization and so forth in my marketplace for like cars or similar cars. So that meant that even though I hadn't seen those numbers, the determination that I made to be able to build something that was scale or build something that was going to success, that it was working.
Okay. That is good. Good point. You talked about insurance though, and because some of the people who may be listening or checking this out, they may have no cars or just one car, or they may have a lot of cars. So can you just compare like how you handled insurance from when you had just the two cars compared to now having like 18, 20 cars? Like how does that look different?
Yeah, it's very different because real situation is that when you're first starting out the business, you don't necessarily want to go crazy because you literally commercials really like 4 or 5 cars. So I left them on their personal because they were their personal vehicles to me. Because Turo, the way that Turo started was basically people renting out their personal vehicle so that they could make some money. So that concept, the integrity of it does stay in place. If you got 1-2 cars, why would you, shift it over to something like that? But as I'm saying, it's the process, right? So I left it on my personal insurance because one of the benefits of, when it's on the Turo platform, their insurance takes the lead, and so there was really there's really not a lot of risk, right? But when you get to the point where you up and you get a bunch of cars, you got to understand that there's no reason to be overinsured, right? Because if you are on your regular family policy or regular insurance policy, you're overinsured because realistically, if you're using that car primarily for Turo, when it's on the rental, Turo's got that. There's only a small period of time off rental, right? And so you have to determine when do you make that shift. If you're just testing the waters and you've got the 1-2 cars, there's no reason to go crazy, right? Just play it out, see how it works out, and then if it's something that you want to commit to, when you get that 3rd, 4th car, eventually your agent's going to be like, man, you got 12 cars on here on a person, that's not going to work out. So
Right.
you're going to have to come to that point where you go, and plus you're paying a ridiculous amount of money for to keep adding these cars, depending on how much you paid for them and so forth. So it comes a point where you want to put it on a policy that makes sense, where you're just paying for the coverage that you need and not just the over coverage, right? So I would just say that, play it out as you're testing the waters. You got 1-2 cars, it's your extra car, whatever it is. Leave it where it's at. Don't mess with that. But when you make a decision that you're going to do this thing and you have 4, I would say 4 is really the point that I've used. When you got 4 or more cars that are being used, then you want it from an integrity standpoint, you want to switch them over to commercial. So simply because the reality situation, if something happens, you may not, your insurance company may not be signed on to doing. Not a lot of them, the private ones, are on board with car sharing. So you got to know that if something happens outside the box on that, that you may not be getting coverage. So you want to maybe eventually make that shift over. But again, if you're just doing it piece by day by day or a little bit at a time, then you have the right to be able to, when you're driving back, driving it from somewhere, driving it home, driving your car, it should be covered on regular insurance with no problem at all.
Okay, so you're saying if you don't have that many cars, then probably just keep it on your personal insurance. But once you start getting to about 4 or more cars, you want to start looking into some commercial insurance to try to save you some money per car on your insurance, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, nice. Good information. When you were talking about buying the cars, you talked about getting your dealer's license. So can you just tell us a little more about, how getting your dealer's license was able to, help you scale your business with the rental cars and, how that is just helping you make more money by doing something like that?
Yeah, and the thing is, as you're involved in your business and you're looking at what's costing you the most amount of money, and you want to control those costs, right? So if you decide, oh, I want to make a decision, you want to buy some cars. There's multiple ways to do it. I'm not mad at anybody that's going to be. For me, I was bootstrapping it. I didn't have a ton of money, but I had a determination, right? So I was going to make it happen, and so I'm not out there buying 2000. I bought a 2022 Camry as the second car once I saw that 2017 was doing well. I had not been on the platform for a long time, so I didn't know necessarily because that car was hitting about 100,000 miles. And I was thinking, man, I would hate to lose this money. Let me go buy a brand new car. And so that way, if something happens and they don't like my 2017 Camry anymore. I have a direction to go in, and so I did that. But ideally, for me, what I did was I went, because I didn't have a ton of money, and I already had I had all these kids, and so every kid I had a car for them. I had 5, 6 car payments on my credit. It comes to a point where they're like, no more cars to you, bro. And so that was not going to be the option going forward. And so what I realized, so then I'd go find a used car guy, and I ran across a guy that had some a unique perspective as far as how he was getting the cars. And so, but he was giving me a good deal on them at the time based on the circumstances. So I'm paying $6,500, $7,500 for a car, and that qualifies, and you put them to work. And I'm like, man, that's great, but again, I'm bootstrapping. I'm like, I'm not one of these guys where I had a ton of money and I could go into this business and do it. I'm like, I'm making it as I go, right? And so I was like, man, eventually, if I want to get in more cars, this $7,500, $6,500 dash car thing, that might be a little bit prohibitive, right? I mean, you got to have, to get me 10 cars, I need like $70,000, right? And so I was introduced to, dealer's license. And so I said, man, let me go get my dealer's license because I can buy these cars wholesale, get them where these guys are getting them and not have to pay that markup, right? And that controls my cost. So you have to, it's kind of like the same thing, like you build a restaurant and you're renting and you got a long-term lease, and then after the lease is up, the guy charges you, triples your rent, right? You're not in control of your business, right? And so I didn't want to be a victim to the used car dealer having to go out there and pay whatever the price they want to pay. And at the time, used car prices were off the chart. Because I started in 2021, right after all the craziness. And so, so I knew that from a business perspective, I needed to be able to control my own destiny, and I needed to be able to control those numbers. And the best way to be able to do that would be able to get the vehicles wholesale. What I do is I mimic the real estate model to my car business, right? And there's a model called a BRRRR, where you buy, repair, renovate, or rent out, and then and refinance, right? And so what I do is, or rent it out. So what I do is I buy them, I fix them up, and then I just run the value up, because now the car that I bought for $2,300 is now worth street value $7,000, but I'm not selling it, I'm keeping it, and then I just rent it out, right? And so it's like a buy and hold strategy for real estate. And so I knew that I had to control those numbers, and so I went after it. It took a while. That thing had slowed my process down, which was fine, because I didn't necessarily want to be throwing out $7,500. So it takes you like 4 months to be able to get the whole thing done. Get the license in San Diego and California, get the license from them. And so during that period of time, I'm telling everybody, man, hey, I'm building this thing up. I'm just waiting to get this license. Once I get this license, then I'm going to scale up, and because I had investors and so forth. And so once you get that done, you show people, this is what I'm trying to do. This is why I'm trying to do it. I didn't necessarily know at the time whether or not the strategy would be successful, because I had no access to the auction market, so I didn't know what the pricing was like. I just knew that it would be better than buying it retail, right? And so once I got the license, I was able to get in there. And then I was literally able to get access to different auctions to see the pricing in there. Then I knew that actually the idea that I had, the hope that I had, the intention that I had actually had come to pass, and that I literally would be able to get more cars, more bang for the buck. Like literally, I could buy 2 cars for $7,500 right now, and have them be up and running, or I could buy 3 cars that are fixer-uppers and have them up and running. And so it has been beneficial to do that. So even though I had that 4 month of hanging back, and allowed me to be able to just work on what I had and fine tune the skills and fine tune the processes and so forth, and then just go from there and start getting the cars. But I was great. But I'm one of those guys where you show me the direction, I'm gone. I'm all in.
Right.
And so you don't have to tell me. I mean, I have to be careful with that, because I'm going after it. I'm believing I'm gonna win, right? And so I don't have that kind of stagger. So once I got in there, got approved everybody, got to sign up with all the auction houses, and I went after it. I was buying 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. I literally bought 12 cars within like a 30, 45 days span. So.
But these auction cars that you get, I would think that, aren't they, don't they have a lot of issues that you have to repair? Like, wouldn't that get kind of expensive, repairing all of these auction cars that you're buying? Or would you say no, they don't really have that many issues?
Oh no, but if they're gonna, yeah, it's the same. But it's the same again, like real estate. You buy a fixer upper, right? And then you do the math. You're like, okay, so you have to have a system. You go, okay, roofing's going to cost me this, flooring's going to cost me this, doing the kitchen's going to cost me this. What is it going to cost, right? And so when you learn how, and the thing is, I knew nothing about cars before I started the business, but in going in there and buying these cars from these dudes and seeing them, all the stuff that the cars had to go through. I mean, even buying retail. I was having issues, check engine lights, that kind of stuff like that. But I literally taught me, I was replacing headlights. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I literally was learning the business and learning about cars. And so literally, as I go in, and that's the thing that I say, you don't know, you're not going to be able to get any kind of progress unless you do something, right? You can sit on the sidelines and say, man, these are all the concerns that I have. But you don't ever know how you're going to be able to deal with those concerns unless you get in there, right? And so I literally got in there, and in getting in there, I was being exposed to things that allowed me to be able to, learn about all changes and learn about checking this and learn about check engine lights, learn about all the, that you can go on eBay and buy parts and replace, things like that. I learned all that because I started, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that's the same thing with the auctions. You go in there and you have to be intelligent, but you also have to have people around you. I have advisors on them, hey. And a guy that knew cars, I'm like, hey, what does it mean when it says, internal engine noise? He's like, no, you keep away from that because that's going to cost you a bunch of money, right? And then also, I built a team. So before I went in there, and when willy-nilly started buying everything, I built a team around me of people that would allow me to be able to deal with certain things. Just like in real estate, you got to get a contractor you like, you got a plumber you like, you get an electrician you like. All these guys, you line them up. So that their math, they got your back, and so I was fortunate because I ran across a guy that could do transmissions, right? And so he would, and then not $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a transmission. I can get a transmission done for $2,300, and then I knew a car because I started off with that Nissan Versa. It was one of the cars I bought from my mechanic that I put to work, and that car from day one just went bonkers. They just loved that car. Easy, cheap, nice to run around car, good gas mileage. So they loved it. So I said, let me stay in that lane. But those things are notorious for transmissions being garbage, right? And so, but you can get them cheap, right? And so I literally went in there, lined up the transmission guy, told me what his price was. And it's math problems. It's the same thing like anything else. Okay, you got you buy the house for this much, you can fix it up and get this much value. This is what's going to cost you. And so I did the math. I'm not into any car with all the things done to it. 5,000 is my number. I will not be into a car for more than $5,000, right? And so I was buying cars for $1,200, $1,700, $2,300. Different range, but I would look through the beautiful thing about the auctions, they let you see all the detail of what's wrong with the car, right? And so you just got to be, you got to see if it's got a check engine light, on this kind of car, something's up, right? And so that's the process. So no, just don't think, oh, you get an auction license, you get a dealer's license, all of a sudden you just go in there, buy these cars. There's going to be things, right? You got to get a scanner, you got to understand what the situation is, but you're going to control the process by not buying any car. Pick a car that you know well, that you know the issues with it. I initially started off doing Fiats, but Fiats were out the range. The recalls were too much for me. But then I get into the Nissans, and I know those. I mean, and I know how to work. They're easy to work on. They have the problems that come at you are not going to be anything surprising off the chain. And then the worst case scenario is going to be the transmission because they got that CVT transmission. And if you can control that number, then you're good, right? And so, and that's really what I did. I went in there with a team of people around me that I knew that if whatever situation, these are situations that could get addressed in a cost-effective way. And so I bought cars that lined up with that. I just didn't go out and just buy any car that looked was cheap or was a good deal. I bought cars that I knew that I would be able to fix up, add value to them, and be able to put them to work and get money back fairly shortly.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually really smart, sticking with what you know, and you probably had a lot of pieces left over from the other Nissans that you were working on that you can, fix the new Nissans with. So that makes a lot of sense. When you were talking about you're talking about the dealer's license and how that's a process. So, for those people out there who, are looking to get started soon, maybe without their dealer's license, what kind of advice would you say what would you say is the best way to maybe acquire some cars, or maybe like 2 or 3 cars without your dealer's license? If you can speak on that still.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's good. It's cool because it's interesting right now. Looking back, I ran it because you can go on Facebook Marketplace, and the same thing that's happening in the auctions, or same things happening in real estate, as far as fixer uppers, is kind of same is kind of happening in outside of the auction world, right? People have cars like, for example, I ran across a gal in the time. The mechanic that I had told me that transmission was like $5,000, and so the math is different. So I ran across a gal that had a Nissan Altima, which do really, really well for me in my marketplace. And the transmission had gone out, and she couldn't afford to get the transmission fixed because, of course, she's not in she's not in business, and so it's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to get that. She's like, I can't do that. And so I literally had talked her down because the mechanic's like, yeah, it's gonna be $5,000. You got to talk her down. So I'm still thinking $7,500 for a car. And literally I talked her down. And she's like, man, I just sell it. And the thing was that the car was great. Outside, the exterior was good. There was no dings, no dents, none of that stuff. It was like a 2016. The interior was great. So there was no issue there. All I had to do was fix it and put it to work, and it would be be able to maintain my brand of having a quality product out there. But at the time, I didn't have a team built up, right? I didn't. I'm still thinking that 5,000 transmission number, right? And so, what's one of the things I look back and say, I'll never make that mistake twice. But literally, there it was. I mean, she started off at 4,500. I literally had her talk down to $2,500. And so, with the math that I have now, I could have bought that 2016 Nissan Altima for $2,500. Throw in that transmission. We had got to my transmission guy. Throw that transmission in there. And I would have been in 5,000 or less into a vehicle that was going to make me $800,000-$900,000 a month, right? But I didn't know. But that's the thing. It's like you just literally go in. If you don't have your license, just go. The world is like that. I mean, Facebook, Craigslist, all those are cars. They're like auction cars. Because a lot of those guys, a lot of guys, they got check engine lights on there. They're not telling you about. You have to have the same process. You got to get your scanner. And don't go out and buy anybody's car based on what they tell you, right? Make sure they got the smog. It can be smog. When you go in there, you go buy that car. You look up and do research. What kind of problems do these cars have? You can go check and Carfax, and auto check, figure out what's the deal with the car, what's the history on the car. Take your scanner out there, scan that car, and see if any check engine lights have been reset. So you know what you're looking at, and just know about cars, know about brakes, know what And the thing is, like for me, I have a tire guy, I got a brake guy, I got a transmission guy, I got an engine guy, I got a tune-up guy. I mean, so when you go look at a car, just know what you're looking at, right? And if you don't know, take somebody, right? Specialize. Take somebody that's what they do. They know about cars. Take them with you. Even if you got to pay a mechanic to go out with you, you got a buddy that's a mechanic. Take that guy, do the math, do the background on it, check it out, make sure it makes sense, and then take your mechanic. It's just like in real estate. You take your contractor out with you to go look, something, look at the house. If you're close to him, he'll tell you what you're looking at, and then even if you got to pay him, $150, $200, whatever it is, that's good money spent, right? Because you get your money back if you get a good deal, and then he'll tell you exactly what's going on. But I mean, basic things like tire tread depth and engine noise and check engine lights and interior. You got to get the detail on the inside because all those things you can learn how to do that, and that's why I love YouTube University. You can learn anything on YouTube, right? Also like scratches. You can learn how to take that stuff out, buy your own buffer, do all kinds. You can. So don't let those kind of things mess you up. You just go, okay, then you got to find maybe find a good body guy, paint guy if you don't do it yourself, or all those things. You go look at a car, you're like, man, you're seeing, okay, that's this style. Just like again, like there's other, we do when you do real estate, you have a whole breakdown of what everything's going to cost and everything category. Do the same thing for cars and go out there and say, okay, I can get a used tire for 45. Okay, I got to put 4 tires on there. Okay, brakes, I can get brakes for this much. Okay, I'll put brakes in there. Don't turn the car away. Because you're afraid, you want one that's, got issues because, if you've got their issues that line up. And again, it's the same thing. Don't just go random any cars. Pick a car, pick a car that you have a system in place to be able to get it fixed up. Real estate, we don't go take any property. Some guys like go around 3 bedroom, 2 baths, or like in this, thing like you do the same thing. And then just go after that. and then just work that, grind out, and you get better at it. I mean, it's you don't have to get your license. There's a bunch of cars out there, right? You can go on Craigslist right now and find, people trying to work you and work, and get your and get the balance on there, right? But also, you want to do it also by finding out in your marketplace what cars work, and then going and finding those cars out there on the streets, and then bring it all together, right? Just don't go buy, just like I don't just go buy any car that's cheap, that I can get fixed up. I buy a car that's going to make sense for what I'm trying to get done, right? So if in your marketplace, and there's a extension called Turex, you can go into your into Turo, put that extension in there, pay the $13.99. You can see all the details as far as in your marketplace specifically, and I did a video on it on my channel, that you can go in there and just work that system and see what cars are making sense, what cars are making money that you want to make, and then go out, choose, I thought I was going to do Fiats because I heard a guy when I was watching YouTube that he said he was getting those Fiats for like $1,700. Fiats are a nightmare. I won't mess with those things ever. Right? But my they got too many. They're too squirrely. I can't get. You can't deal with them. But Nissan's worked out perfect for me, and it's what I knew. I should have stayed what I knew, and so that's why I did that. But everybody's got what they know already. It's like, this guy or something, everything you need is in the house. And so all the information you need, you literally probably have already in front of you. What kind of cars you like, what kind of cars you understand, what kind of cars you want to deal with, what network you have that can deal with those kind of cars. And so, keep that close and not just don't make it just random.
Right. And you were talking about a scanner. Can you touch a little more about that? You say you take a scanner to check out cars or something? You got to have your scanner at the auction? What is that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can get a car scan, like your little OBD ones, the one you plug into the OBD port, and then it'll scan the car. Yeah, and it'll tell you all the stuff that's up with the car, whether they reset the check engine light, all kinds of. I mean, that's cool. Like, it's interesting now because back in the day, my son went out to buy a BMW, and he was all excited about the car, and it was only like $3,000, and literally bought the thing. I said, no, I don't buy it because it was a little squirrely, and they bought it anyway because he really wanted it. So he had his money, he paid for it, and then he couldn't get it. He couldn't get it registered because it couldn't pass smile because it had a check engine light. The guy had reset the check engine light, and so, he learned his lesson. But I also, all that came back full circle to me. I'm like, man, if I had known to go anything about cars, I would have went out there and had a scanner scan the car, say, hey, do this car, blah, blah, blah. I would have known what he was going to face, right? And BMWs are special, right? So you gotta, they don't play, right? But it's the same thing. So I learned to, just take your scanner out there. That way you can see exactly what's off of the car, whether it be, they'll tell you the transmission is going to be, that was something, light that came on for that, or whether it be, whatever, tire pressure, whatever it is going to let you know what you're looking at. And that'll cause people that, if they reset the light on there, because you can get like a $5 scanner and reset a light. Right, and then you're driving around, think everything's okay, and then you go, get to your house, and all of a sudden the light comes back on, and you're like, what do I do now, right? And you're not getting that small, you're not getting that, you're not transferring that title. So you want to make sure that you do those things, and then also make sure the car is not salvage title as well.
Where can you get those scanners from, and how do you know that the car is not a salvage title?
Oh, well, that you got to do the Carfax and all. You got to do the research on that, right? Because they should ask them for the VIN number before you even go look at their car. And then you can find out whether it's salvage title or not. And they, typically I ask them about is it salvage title. They have to tell you, because you're going to find out eventually. And that's why if you go on Craigslist and all stuff, it says clean title, salvage title, And then if it's the deal's too good, and you got a Toyota Camry, even though it's got some mileage on it for $4,500, even Toyota Camrys right now with $160,000, it's selling for $10,000, and the guy's got $4,500, this is probably salvage title, right? Because it's going to be way cheaper than traditionally should be. So you can use that as an example. But you can go on. I did a YouTube search and I found this Toyota guy that said, man, I usually don't like to endorse scanners, but these people sent me the scanner and they had like a 6,000 page manual. So I'm like, let me look into this thing. And so I went in there and I bought it. It was like I got it on Black Friday, so I got to save a bunch of money after it. Took me like $500. But the thing about that is that this is the thing. The advantage that I had with that was that not only did I get something that can scan, it can do things like, check if the locks work and all kinds of stuff like that. I literally can program my own keys. And so one of the things I would, say you got to be smart in business. I mean, I learned the hard way, but again, I learned because I went in there and got it done, right? That same Nissan Versa that I bought, they have these alarms on them. But if you ever see the remote on these, it's like these little remotes they're garbage. They last for like a little bit of time. But the problem with that is like, so on the Nissan Versa, you have to unlock it so the alarm doesn't engage, right? It just notoriously what happens is on those things is when the alarm goes out, the unlock goes out, so you can't shut the alarm down. And the alarm shuts down the car, and then you can't go. So I literally bought this car from my mechanic. Everything was sound mechanically, and then it goes on a couple of rental, and it comes back to the customer's like, man, the alarm's going off. I can't shut it off. All right, and I didn't know, so I called and then one time I was about to send it out, and it wouldn't, the alarm wouldn't engage, the thing wouldn't start. I'm like, what's going on? So I had to call a locksmith. The dude charged me like $180. I think it was $2 something to get me a new program key, right? And then that was fine for a little bit, and then it came back the second time, and I had to pay. Like, man, this is what happened. He's like, we don't guarantee for life, and so the same thing. That cheap little key had gone out, but he's like, oh, it's going to cost you $180. Then he gives me a dummy key, right? And not a dummy key, but a non-remote key, so I could at least open the door, which that don't help me because it doesn't shut off the alarm. And so now I'm in the business. I've been around a while. I go on eBay, buy those little cheap things for $6.95, right? I have my scanner. I can program 50 of them things, right? And I'm not paying anybody $240. I made my money, you know what I'm saying? Right. And so you don't know that, right? I'm like, man, I'm building this business. I'm all excited. I can't have my customer out there with his alarm going off. I got to fix it because the car's going out in 2 hours, right? So the guy's coming over to my house. He's charging what he charges. Like, let me get, okay, whatever. I got money. Let me get it done, right? And no. You control your math. You control your numbers. And you make sure that you can make, you can't duplicate keys, but the duplicate key to math is $40. When they got to program something, that's when the money comes in. You can like try to get like a Mercedes remote, all those things. I mean, they're like hundreds of dollars to get that done. You can literally buy a $500 scanner. And again, they might be. I just found the one that the guy was telling me was good, and he did the research on it. So I'm not locked in, but I'm sure for those that have experience with all kinds of scanners, there's probably a $300 scanner that can do the same thing. But my scanner, I loved it because I can literally program my remotes, and so I can buy the remote on eBay, and then I can program it to my car, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to pay anybody to do that, right? Wow. Because that's where the money is. And you're right. No, I'll take a $40 guy duplicating my key. I'll pay you $40, right? Because I'm not going to go get a key machine. I ain't got time for that. But I'm not going to pay you $200 and up to program my remote. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm going to do that myself.
I'm about to go get me one of these scanners like right after this because I had no idea.
Yep. And you want to have 2 keys. Yeah, you want to have 2 keys. So.
Okay. So, I want to hear more about you forming up your team. So, you were saying you got a tire guy, you got a transmission guy, you got this guy, that guy. Can you just tell us a little bit about, how you got that team in place for you? What did you do? Did you meet them at the coffee shop or, how did that happen?
So for me, that's a God story. That's like just God looking out for me. And, again, I'm significantly spiritual, trusting God, listening to Him, being obedient. And so, but one of the things, again, is you have to get in there and get done. Like you got to hear. I do from 2024, my determination was to hear, confirm, and obey, right? And so God's going to say, if you listen and make time to hear from God, He's going to confirm it. He's going to have, you're going to hear your pastor's going to tell you, somebody's going to come, they're going to confirm what you heard. And then if you have the heart of obedience to do what you've been told to do by God, then you're going to be all right. And so God told me a while back that everything you need is in the house, right? And so literally, as I was building, because I'm in there, because I'm going after it, because I went after the license, I was told, the Holy Spirit said, go get your license. So I went and got my license, right? And so, but then that means a lot of things had to come together. So literally, I had a mechanic that was, it was joke, but he was better numbers than lots people. So at least I thought I had that okay. But then God gave me a buddy of mine that was in the service, that was church with me, he was in men's group with me, and he was in the service and he did all kinds of mechanical stuff. And so he had mentioned to me that he had replaced his son's engine in his Kia. And so I'm like, man, maybe he's got some skill sets, right? And so it turned out that he's one of these guys that literally loves tinkering, loves solving problems, right? I mean, for confirmation for me, what I did was, I said, man, would you be willing to help me with this? And he's like, yeah, I'll help you. And so we did the math and the numbers. So what was happening to me? So let's say I buy a car from the auction, and it just, it's things that can be dealt with, whether, check engine lights, whatever, there's things that you can deal with mechanically. I was able to drop the car off to him, and then he would go through. For example, I mean, the best example I have of how God looking out, I bought a 2012 Mini Cooper, because a buddy of mine was telling me Mini Coopers are great. And then I bought a Fiat 500E. And when the guy brought them together, they dropped them off. He's like, man, both of these driver's side windows are down and they're not working. I'm like, what? And so literally I had my buddy in place that because, we had talked about him being able to do that. He's like, yeah, I'm interested. And what I did was, like, one of the things, I watched a guy called Myron Gold, and he's like, make more offers. He has this make more offers challenge, which you guys got to check out. It's like $99, and they got a VIP. I mean, it's worth the money. I mean, literally change your life, right? So I've been watching this guy for a while and talking about make more. So what I did was I had made an offer because I had bought the car. I had my transmission. I bought a car. I had my transmission guy, and it was $2,300 to do it, half down. So I paid it. I bought the car, paid for the car, dropped it off to the transmission guy because he needed a transmission. I gave the $1,150, and then I'm like, man, let me make an offer to my brothers. You gotta have a network. I reached out and said, hey, for $1,150, I want to make sure maintain this relationship. I want to get this car out of the transmission shop. This car, if you pay for this transmission, so I reached out to a bunch of people, a bunch of my brothers, and said, if I'll give you, $250 a month, or I think it's $250 a month for the life for 3 years on this car, if you give me the money, right? So for me, I want everything's got to pay for itself. So if I get the car done with the transmission, I put the car to work, I'll pay you $250 because I'm going to make more. The car's going to be working, it's going to make money. I can pay you out of the car, right? So I have this thing where I make everything pay for itself. I mean, traditionally, when you build your business, you get seed money, you start your business, you run it. God's done it for me where you literally, it's an income producing asset. So I've turned this car into an asset that's producing income, and then I put the thing to work, and so then it pays its own bills, right? If you can create a structure where the asset pays its own bills, kind of like they say the wealthy put their money to work, right? This is if you're working, that means that your money is unemployed, right? And so it's the same thing. I put my assets to work, so the assets pays its own bills. So because I was able to get this asset up and running, making money, I will use the asset making money to pay for the ability to be able to get it on Turo and rent it out, right, in great condition and maintain my brand, right? And so I did that, and he popped. He said, "Yeah, I'll do that for you." And so then we started talking, and then so he's like, I'll help you. I can do some things, and so I literally made a deal with him that he could, because he can like change oil and all that kind of stuff like that, which is cool because I love that. I gotta trust him. He's not a gouge me or anything like that. And he's like, I guess he was trying $50 an hour. And I said, man, check this out. How about for every car that you get me up and running, I'll give you $100 a month for the rental life of this vehicle. So instead of you making that making $150, you change my oil, change the thing like that. Now you're making $100 a month for the rental life of this vehicle, right? So what did I just do? I just had the vehicle, the income producing asset, pay for itself, right? Because in it being at work. So now he fixed the car up. So now I'm going to put the car to work, and then the car is going to pay for itself. So the car is going to pay its bill, right?
Right.
And he gets to be part of that for be fruitful, multiply. He gets seed time and harvest. He gets to plant the seed. Is in this situation will be his skill set, and then now his skill set is producing fruit for him, right? And not everybody's going to get that, right? But he got it because he loves God. He's done every ministry, leads men's ministry. He got it. He understood about using your skill set as seed and bearing fruit from that, right? And so I dropped the cars off to him that need that. And literally, so I had these two cars. I'm like, man, they didn't tell me that the windows were down. We weren't working on the car. So I'm like, what's going on, right? So I dropped both cars off to him. And literally, This is how I know it's confirmation from God. He went in there, took the thing apart, told me what part I needed. I bought the part on eBay, and he put it in there. And I got 2 cars. I mean, now imagine it's just me, right? And I got a regular mechanic. I take that to that guy. That guy's gonna try to charge me hundreds of dollars to try to fix some, where I can get a $40 part. Put it into the, it was just one of them was just the lift thing on the for the window. Other one was some module stuff. So he literally takes ownership of the stuff. He goes out there, figure out what it needs, and then he goes out and looks, figures it out, and then he tells me, and I get the parts, and then he puts it together, and then that car goes to work, and then that car is going to pay him $100 a month for the lifetime rental of the vehicle. So that could be 3, 4, 5 years, right? Because right now what I'm doing is I'm buying them to last these. Initially 3 years what I use as a number. But typically I can go 4 years, right? And then after 4 years, you can roll into a different way to make money. But he understood the value of that, and so that's how I found my mechanic. And then based on where I'm at, a tire guy moves into my area. I see this guy. I see the place was empty for a long time. This guy comes in. I go in there and I meet with him. I have favor. So I got. I can get some great used tires from him, $45. Then he decides he's going to do brakes. So literally, because I have my dealer's license, I have a commercial account with the different AutoZone, places like that. And so literally, he's like, yeah, if you go, and then he bought a tow truck. So I got a tow truck if I need it. And then he says, I'll do brakes for you because, they're taking the tires off all day. It's easy, right? It makes sense. So he's like doing things that expand, and he's smart too, right? And so he's like, yeah, you bring me the brakes. I'll put them on, front brake, $60, back brake, $60, right? And so, that's beautiful math, right? I had to get this one guy where I was trying to, he was the best I had at the time. He charged me $220 to change out some brakes. I brought the brakes and he charged me $220. Now I'm going from the $220 guy to change some front brakes to $60 to get my brakes done. So
that's a huge gap.
And so huge gap, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you go, and when you first start off, you might have some bad math. But if you're intelligent about it, you can make your math better. But if you never started, you have no math. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like if I didn't get started, even though I had some bad math, there was still better math than, it was bad math, but still better math than the street, right? Because I knew this guy, so he was trying to, he was working, he thought he was giving me a deal. But then now I'm down to God moved into place. This guy, like, get my tires taken care of. I got my tow truck over there, get my brakes done, and he's working on doing all changes. I drop my car off to him, I walk back to my house, right? And so that's how I built that part of the team. And so you literally just have to figure out, because I'm all about math. It's like that people say, oh man, I want to make, I want to make a profit, and I want to make cash flow. And then as I'm making cash flow, I get smarter about my business and I take advantage of opportunities. Like, so I went from paying $7,500 a car to paying $2,500 for a car. But I did that because I went and started, right? Mm-hmm. And the same thing now, I went from paying $220 for some brakes, now I'm paying $60 for some brakes, right? But I got started, right? And so you have to get in there. You got to be ugly. But then if you're smart, you can get, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. The Holy Spirit's talking to me, so I'm listening and hearing, and he knows all things, right? And so literally I'm being educated about the process. Like, guy, some YouTube thing, the guy showed me about this, and so literally I'm being educated and doing it better, Traditionally, I'm bootstrapping it, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, if you're a guy, you got all this knowledge, all this stuff, how to do a detail, but then you start off with the numbers, tweak the whole thing, right? That's cool. But there's something to be said about building something and seeing you strengthen the foundation of it by doing the work and being in there, right? And so as that's why, so as I built that team, I got I ran across, because I bought these cars from this one guy, the used car dealership, who was also, he was giving me a better deal than the street. He was able to put me on to a glass guy that I can get glass done. I got a battery guy that can replace my batteries for cheaper than, $200, $300 or $150, whatever it is for a new battery, right? I got I got a glass guy, I got a battery guy, I got a transmission guy. I got all change. There's even that thing, All Changes does this thing where, I don't know if I'm hearing it right now nationwide, but we have this thing, All Changes. They do this thing where you can buy for $120, $120, $130, depending on where you're at. You can buy 4 All Changes, all right? And so what I did was that I went out there and they're trying to upsell you. I'm like, they see me coming in like, you ain't upset on that dude. He just wants his oil change, right? So I go, I give him a payment 120. I go in there, drop. He's like, dude, you back? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, drop my cars at one. Take it to my house, get the next one, right? My 120 is covered. I got, so I got 4 oil changes for 120, right? I'm controlling my math, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to do those things, and you have to literally figure out where all the opportunities are they're going to get you, and then be able to go from there.
I like that. Control your math. Control your math. I like that one right there. So to kind of shift it a little bit, I would like to hear more about your thoughts on private rentals versus Turo, because I know, a lot of people talk about Turo taking their cut, taking their percentage, and a lot of people talk about, taking Turo out of the equation and just going directly to the renter so you can make more money. Do you do any private rentals? Where do you stand on that?
It's kind of like, for me, it has to be something that has to be talked about and considered, right? You always have to have a pivot. So for me, private rental is a pivot. It's kind of like, you got a YouTube channel, and you're killing it, and you're making all kind of money off of YouTube, and then YouTube decides to cancel you, and then all of a sudden that income stream is gone, right? But if you hadn't planned to create your own community and have your own membership website and all kinds of stuff like that, now you're screwed, right? And so for me, it's the same thing. I set myself up with the intention to be able to pivot. So like I started a rental car company. I have a rental car website. And so I put all my cars on that rental website. Marketing will be done to drive it. So Turo's doing their marketing, but they're marketing for everybody. And so, but then I do my own marketing for my own cars. But what I do is I use Turo as the foundation, right? So you'll come to mine's called Elevate Auto Rental. And so you come to my website and you're going to see all my cars. When you click on the car you like, it's going to take you to my Turo profile. I just link it to my Turo profile for that vehicle, and you can book it, right? Now, if you're not in Turo, you're going to, if you want that car, maybe now you've heard Turo, like, what Turo, what is this? And you can join Turo, and if you get Turo takes you, then I know you're safe, right? The opportunity issue we have with private rental is the insurance is more expensive. So again, if you're trying to control costs, but again, you must, in every business, you must have a pivot. You must be able to have a worst case scenario. You have to have somewhere to go. Like if I've got investors, and I can't be like, oh, Turo's the way to go. No, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Turo makes sense, and I believe in Turo. I believe they're going to scale. But I need to be able to also be able to have an opportunity to be able to maintain my commitments, should that be not the route we go, right? And so that's really what private rental represents for me. I do the 90% plan for 10% of my rental to take on the risk of having to go from $80 a month for insurance to $175 to $200 a month for insurance, taking on the risk of not knowing who it is you're giving your car to. Now I got to get a tracker with a kill switch. I got to put money into that. Then I don't know where it is, and I got to track people down to find my car. It's business. But you just have to, why would I do hard business if I can do efficient business until I have to do hard business, right? But the beautiful thing is that it's kind of like when I first got out of college, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and so I wanted to work for a development management program in retail, and I was literally having them show me how to run a business. Because, you got a department, you're a department manager, and you have employees and all kind of stuff, so you're getting to understanding of a business, but on somebody else's dime. So what Turo's opportunity is to show you how to run a rental business. Like, look at their numbers, look how they math, look what they do, look how they market. Look at what kind of cars make sense. You know what I'm saying? You literally, it's a win-win there. Like, I'm literally, how they met. You literally can go in there and tweak your numbers and see how the algorithm responds to that. You can check your marketplace. What does the marketplace look like? What's my competition look like? You can see all that stuff by being Turo for 10%. I'll do that all day, right? That's cheap education, right? But then it allows you, if you know you need to do that, that allows you then to be able to build something for a pivot that allow you to be able to do it with a foundation. Like if I step away from Turo And again, you can do multiple options. Like, we have get-arounds, or you can get-arounds a different setup. You don't have to take as many pictures over that. And then, I don't know if they were, have ups and downs, but they exist. You can put cars over there. You can get cars that are older with more mileage on it. You can buy. So for me, myself, I can buy those and put them. I would rather, you can do. So I can go buy a cheaper car at the auction because I can get a 2009 with 180,000 miles, make sure it's maintained and set up, and put that to work. I can get that for $1,500, right? And put that to work and making me money. Don't have to take as many pictures, and so I have that as an option, as a pivot in case somebody starts to act up, right? And then, the third option would be, you got a bunch of guys out there that are driving Uber and Lyft. It's good money. It makes sense. They get to control their destiny. And they get, it hurts them. All those guys may be killing them. And so they're like, I'd rather be, private rental from somebody that, that's not going to be feeding me to death or anything like that, right? And so you can get those guys, right? Then maybe go straight to the public, because the public has too many, a lot more variables than it would be if you control that. I got a guy that's doing Uber and Lyft. I've done Uber and Lyft, so I understand the process. He's just going to run my miles up. He may be a bad driver, but then that's going to be on him, right? But we'll work it out together. So you got all the, you just control the step. I just think going from Turo platform to jumping into private, just for I'd rather take more. It'd be better to take more risk with that higher deductible on that 90-10 plan. You know what I'm saying? Than going out there and taking the risk of some random dude you never met before in your life that's got a plan, and you're giving him your car for $25, and then you never see him again, right? Get out of here. No, that's not. You got me mixed up. And so you have to make that decision. But there's software. You can do background checks, all kinds of stuff like that. You can do it. But there's higher costs associated with doing that. And for me, the return to be able to do that versus doing it on Turo, it's not there yet. But I set myself up to be able to do so. At any moment, I can just switch my website where I've got all my cars on there, and now they're linking to Turo. I can just, I'm going to make sure it's set up where I can take the information. I can, you can go get a website that's set up for private rental and be be a rental car guy, fairly reasonable, and have that. To make the switch, it's easy. Now you got the website already, you got the cars in there already. Now all you do is put some back-end software that's going to check out these people, do all kinds of stuff like that. Now you're in private rental. I don't say don't do it. I say make sure you have that as a pivot and do it ahead of time. Don't do it because you have to. Do it because you're in place to be able to, if you want to, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I say about that. And you can do that. You can build it and build everything, get all the software, do all the research, make sure you have everything lined up, and be private rental guy. And maybe put a couple cars in private rental to diversify, right? Put a couple cars in private rental, put some on Turo, put some on Get Around, put some on Hired Car, or, I guess they got bought out, but put some on there where you're renting out to Uber drivers. Just mix it up. It's cars. It's the same, it's cars. It's cars. And again, the key is getting the cars right.
Right.
Yeah, if you steal my $2,500 car, I'm going to be upset because it was a moneymaker, but I'm going to be all right. Right. It's going to be okay. We're going to shake that off, kind of lost them, right? And so you just have to find that balance, right? But if you go out there, you sweat, you got to dug all your money up, and you bought this $15,000 car or whatever it is, and you got a bunch of money into it, and now somebody just runs into a tree or they take off to Canada, now you got a problem, right? And there's a cost associated with that. So I don't, So I would say absolutely. So you build yourself as you're in the rental car business. You literally, even though you're using Turo as a platform, you are a car rental business, and so you need to be able to be a car rental business across multiple options.
Got you. Okay, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just being considerate on time. I just have a few more things to ask you. So just for the people starting out and maybe they don't have any cars or maybe they're not on the platform yet, what would you say were your biggest challenges? Maybe like one or two challenges that were the biggest when you were first starting out on the platform on Turo.
Well, I had a ton of challenges, but one of the ones that I think that if you're going to do this business, the first thing I do is don't love that car. Okay. because if you put in your pride and joy out there, just trying to make some money because you're trying to control, trying to pay your car payment because you saw it was a good, cool thing to do, know that these people, as loving and caring as whoever they may be, they don't give, it's like, what did we do with rental cars, right? What do we do cars that are not ours, right? And so understand that this is not their car, and they know it's not their car, so they're not going to do, I'm in beach territory. I come back, I got sand all over the place. I mean, I had a brand new 2022, Camry brand. I mean, it still smelled, new car smelled, I think I had like 100 miles on it. And I rented out to this grandmother and her daughter. And that thing came back, and she went and pick up a grandkid. All that came back with sand on every part of that car. Okay? It's brand new. I mean, I'm giving you my pride. I'm giving you a beautiful car. It smells new, no mileage on it. You don't care. And so you learn. You're gonna put sand all on the seats on the thing. You don't even.
The same thing happened to me with the sand. I was like, oh my goodness.
God, yeah, they don't care, right? And so. And then don't let it be raining, I get mud on it. Okay? And then the first thing is get a car. Don't put a car out there that you are so in love with that you can let you scratch every nick, everything, because they're gonna get nicks, they're gonna get scratches, the seats are gonna get stains on it. So you gotta understand that. Don't put something out that you have a certain mindset on out there thinking, it's gonna make money, it's all pie in the sky. You will make money if you do it right. But at the end of the day, if you're emotionally attached to that vehicle, it's not work. Like me, I was trying to educate my wife on seeing the ins and outs, the details of the business, which I think is it's important that they see the business working. And so I created a whole profile for her. And I put her Mercedes on there, and Mercedes was killing it. That Mercedes was making it's just a 2016 CLA 250. She loves that car because her mama had one a Mercedes that was beat up and wrecked, so she always wanted to have her Mercedes that she could cherish and take care and make sure it wasn't always running. So every time there's an oil change, like 1,200 miles away from an oil change, she's like, "Hey, I need an oil change." I'm like, "It's 1,200 miles away from her." And so I put that car out there. Those people did not care. I mean, it was crazy. It rented like crazy, but they were not nice to it. And so you just have to find that balance, right? And so what I'll do now is I'll go to an auction and I'll buy the exact same cars for $75, $80, $100 and put them to work because I know they work and they make a ton of money. But I'm not going to use my wife's car because that's not going to work out too often, right? And so the nicks and stuff like that is going to be an issue. But
Okay. And what would you say are like 3 traits that someone should have if they want to be successful in the Turo business?
The first one is you have to genuinely care about people, right? So, because a lot of times people come in just to make money, but you have to understand that someone's going to come off a plane. Like I'm in a vacation area. I'm in San Diego, so someone's going to come off a plane with their little baby and the husband, wife, and the kids, right? And they're going to get into your car. If you just throwing any kind of tires on there, or you're not doing the maintenance on the car, or the car looks like crap, or smells like got stains all over the place like that, that's not really a good impression, right? Think about it, how you would want to, when you're in a car, what do you want that car to look like? What do you want to put your family in, right? And so I have a huge customer service background working in retail for a long time with a retailer that's known for customer service. And so it's ingrained in me to give a high level of service, right? And it translates into the reviews you get and things like that. It's kind of, from a biblical perspective, you want to serve people, right? You want to be a person that's out there, giving back or giving to people more than trying to take from them, right? And so I would say you have to have a servant's heart. You have to want to know that, I'm doing this as a service. I want to make sure that when that person gets in my car, they know that they're safe, they know that it's clean, and you want to have that as a characteristic. Same characteristics. You have to be driven. You have to see. You have to be able to see, be optimistic, right? You have to expect to win. And so that if something comes, like, you get a ticket, I get tickets left and right, driving me mad, but it's cost doing business, right? And so I don't let it affect me. I'm like, okay, I got to do better about that, right? And so you have to be optimistic and see the lesson in it, right? Somebody may say to you, I had one time, I had a guy that I guess he must have been a car critic or so. I don't know what this dude was. He literally went in there and was like, oh, the car was fine, but I heard a little humming sound when I was driving on the freeway, and putting all in there. Like, this guy's like a review, like he's reviewing. I'm like,
he putting all that in a review, yeah.
Yeah, like he put it in the review, like he's like literally going, I mean, what are you talking about? A humming sound? What is that? Could have been a whole bunch of stuff, right? They might have done one in my car. But the thing is that when people say something, I had this thing when one of the trainings I had, we got walkers and talkers, right? There are people that, if you give them bad service, they'll just walk and then they'll tell all their friends you gave them bad service. But then you get the people that are coming in, if you give them bad service or you mess them up, they'll tell you to your face, hey, man, you need to do this better. This would happen to me, blah, blah. Those people you don't want to get mad at and every time what I found is that every single one of the situations, it was something that, you got to be unoffendable. It's something I've been for 2024, I put on my heart is to be unoffendable. And just understand that in everything that they're saying to you, somebody says something to you, there's a gem in there. There's an opportunity in there, right? And so, maybe the car wasn't as clean as it would want it to be. Maybe, you thought you saw it when it was horrible, but from the last person, you think, man, this is beautifully clean compared to where it was. But that's not the same perspective they have. You know what I'm saying? They're coming in there, they're like, their expectation is what they had their car in, or somewhere else had that car looking like. So, you just have to be, you have to be unoffendable. You have to, want to give great service, and then you have to have thick skin. And then you also have to be a numbers cruncher, be financially sound. Like you want to minimize your costs, right? You want to find ways to minimize costs. You want to always be learning. You always want to put yourself out there. Okay, how do I, how can I use this tax strategy for my business? All kinds of things like that. You have to just be in there. And knowing that, this is what it cost me today, but I went from Ubering out of places to getting my transit card and using the trolley and the free shuttles. You know what I'm saying? You have to find a way. I'm charging. I was charging them a delivery fee because I'm like, man, what if I got a Uber out of there? I got to make sure I get my money right. But now you can charge delivery fee, you be able to keep on and then just, trolley out of there, take the train out of there, you know what I'm saying? Get a scooter and get out of there, right? You know what I'm saying? Get a bike out of there, you know what I'm saying? Find a way to control because, you can, because one of the intention was that the delivery fee would pay for that, but I wouldn't want to be comfortable with that. Now I can use the delivery fee to pay for an employee. And then, get out of there, get my little monthly Pronto card or my monthly transit card, and then just, hit the trolley. You drive over there, walk a little bit, get on the trolley, get back to your house, and, cool, you just save $25. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
and then it all adds up. So you got to, you have to be paying attention. You're always trying to find a way to minimize your costs. But also, I'm not talking about costs that associated with maintaining and creating your brand that's, it's quality. I'm talking about costs that are controllable. Things like, you can, stop paying somebody, full retail for some car. Why would I do that? I mean, I'm not mad at you. That's for somebody else, right? I can go buy one on Marketplace and Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and be able to make the number make sense.
Right. Exactly. Well, cool. Is there anything else that you want to, leave with the audience or let the audience know something that they should know with this Turo business before we get off of here?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like the way I walked in the Turo business, because I have my channel, Men in Spiritual Authority. I love you to go over there and subscribe. But basically, my intention was I had a burden for my brothers that we as men have a huge responsibility bigger than just just being a provider, just working hard, or just being a man. It's bigger than that. We have to be able to create situations where we can, if something happens to us, because in multiple situations, I had things happen to me, and because of the Turo business, I was able to at least stay and play, right? And so I would say that Turo gives you, again, Turo is not don't make Turo your end. We don't have a 20-year Turo strategy. In 20 years from now, it's going to look totally different. It's an immediate strategy, allows you to have cash flow that you can then use to put into things that can last 10, 20 years, buy a stock market with dividend stocks or things like that. But I would say that for me, with the intention was to find an opportunity for men to be able to provide security financially for their families without them being the one that primarily is the one making the money. Use the job that you have, that hard work you're doing, and all that stuff you're putting up with, and take that money and put it into places so that you can be fruitful and multiply, so that you have a pivot, right? I have one of the slogan for my channel, my YouTube channel is be pivot ready, right? You have to, as a man and responsibility, you got kids, you got a wife, whatever it is, even if you're not married, you're going to be in a situation, a lot of people are going to be pulling on you with responsibility, wanting you to look out for them, provide for them. You need to be pivot ready. You need to be able to know, let them know that, hey, if something happens to me primarily, I've got things in place that allow for us to be able to be okay. And so I would just say, and then the beautiful thing about Turo also is that from a tax standpoint, cars with the depreciation allow for, if you're a W-2 employee, allow for a lot of opportunity for you to be able to reduce your tax basis simply by doing a business that you may be thinking, I'm just trying to do money, but it pays in multiple ways. It'll pay you the revenue that it makes, but also pay you in some tax benefit that will definitely keep money in your pocket. My goal is to keep money in your pocket, but yes, also position yourself to be able to do stuff. Plus, also, it's a business. Every one of us should start a business. Start a business, right? And you do know, just as a little thing, you can employ your kid and have them clean them cars up to $14,500 a year. Okay, put the little 5-year or 10-year, whatever, have them vacuum in, and reduce your income by that, right? So there's a lot. The tour business allows for a lot. I'm not a tax guy, so I just do, I just know that number because it makes so much sense to me. But look that up. But I think that would be what I want to make sure is, like, as men, and you may have men and women here, but for my heart, it's like, for men, as the responsibility we have, and the reason we have these shoulders is that we need to be able to make it through some stuff, right? And so part of that is being able to take advantage of opportunities that are presenting themselves. You don't got to have 20, 25 cars. But even 3-4 cars that are working, that can pay the car payments, so that if something happened to you, at least they come get your car. You know what I'm saying? Right. You can even get to the point where you can pay some of your rent. You know what I'm saying? You want that in place, right? Even if, may not be able to pay that $3,000 rent like we got here in San Diego, but if you can get $1,500 out of there, now you only got a $1,500 problem if something happens, right? But imagine if you got a $3,000 problem with no opportunity to get it. Now you got to build up a business. And so I would say that the opportunity for her to be able to make cash flow for you, allow you to be able to pivot in case something comes up, is very, very, very necessary and important for us as men. So we got to be able to do that.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. And thank you so much, Maurice. Can you just tell the people again, how to connect with you? You said you had a YouTube channel, and also, if you got like Instagram or Facebook or anything, please just share that with us right now. I'll also include it in the description, but can you share it with us on the video?
Yeah, so primarily, if you just go to Men in Spiritual Authority, it'll take you to everything. I've got a video on there that people have loved, that like 6,500 views, where I literally just tell you, I'll help you. Just reach out. So Men in Spiritual Authority on the YouTube channel, literally everything, all my other stuff is there. You can get access to me there. You can send me you can comment, reach out to me there. And that would be probably my primary place I would send everybody, because it really encompasses what I've got going on, what I'm trying to get done. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you once more, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate it. Stay Phwealthy.
Appreciate you, man. Come on, appreciate you, man. Come on.
All right.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye now.